Okay. On page 76, chapter 7, the second grade was as bad as the first, only worse. They still flashed cards at you and wouldn't let you read. This is what Scout says, and school started, so I'm guessing this is, yeah. And then, so this tells me that the school education still is really bad, and like, usually if you're advanced, they let you go forward, but this school doesn't, which also, and I also thought that as you get older it would get better, like their teaching methods, but I'm guessing it doesn't, because she says that the usual crew had flunked the first grade again, and were very helpful in keeping order. The only thing good about the second grade was that this year I had to stay as late as Jem, and we usually walked home together at 3 o'clock. This also, I don't know, so this shows me one thing about in this chapter is that the education has never changed. But then what also started getting me interested was that when I went back, they were folded across the fence like they were expecting me. In this section, Jem was walking to get his clothes back because he lost it, and they had been sewn and folded as if someone was waiting for him, and that kind of scared both of the kids because they don't know who it is. And the next day they came, they find dolls of them. So this is kind of like a perverse situation, because why is someone making dolls that look just like you and then, making things look like they're expecting you? And this really bothered me because it's kind of creeping me out. And they find out that the hole that they've been getting all this stuff from in the tree is from Mr. Radley, or Mr. Radley sealed it up with cement. And they asked, and he said that the reason he did that was because the tree was dying, but the tree really wasn't dying, or that's what Atticus said. So that makes me think that the Radleys are liars, or like Mr. Radley is a liar, because in chapter 8, Mr. Avery said it was written on the Rosetta Stone that when children disobeyed their parents, smoked cigarettes, and made war on each other, the seasons would change. In 1885, they said that they had the coldest weather, and it started to snow recently in chapter 8. And they were talking about old Mrs. Radley dying on a winter, but it hardly even caused a ripple. And the neighborhood didn't really respond to that well, because it wasn't like a big uproar or anything. They said that she died of natural causes, but then they said people were saying that it was Jem and Scout's fault for making it snow because they're so nosy and rascal and really boisterous and stuff. But so on the day that it started snowing, they didn't really know what it was, and they were saying that they should save it and don't walk on it because it was snow, and I find this kind of funny because they were trying to save it. And they were being racist also while catching snow, which is also what Scout is kind of has fallen into that trap of being racist. That Atticus and her father have been trying to get her out of that habit, because they support the blacks because they're fair people. And she said, Jem and I have never heard of a nigger snowman. And this was because they had put mud in the snow. So I find this like irritating, because I don't like it when people are racist, but it is common in this time period, and especially in this town because it's a small town and they're very religious and close to their morals and stuff. And also, in this chapter, Miss Maudy's house caught on fire, but it kind of showed me that she wasn't, even though she wasn't interested in her house, she was more interested in Jem and Scout's affairs, which kind of made me think that she's just gonna start gossiping even more, and that's why she doesn't really care about her house, because she can just make a new one and start gardening. But she was more interested in Jem's situation and stuff. And in chapter 9, they had talked about Scout's father defending Cecil Jacobs, and he's an African American, and he's very, very poor. And in this chapter, I was thinking about, well, is Scout's father being a lawyer and defending black people for the money, or just because he's the right person? And I think it's because he's a very nice person, because they have this whole conversation of why to not be racist to people, and for hundreds of years they've been trying to fight this, but it hasn't happened. And it also said someone also shows racism by saying, "With this in mind, I faced Cecil Jacobs in the schoolyard next day. You gonna take that, boy? You gotta make me first," he yelled. "My folks said your daddy was a disgrace, and that nigger oughta hang from that water tank." And this also shows that people would rather have black people die than than treated fairly.